Start off with Jeadyn Lukus. We saw him over at a football camp this past weekend in Greenville. Just his health and you know, kind of maybe his last shot to make the most of the opportunity. The you know, 5-star that came in here that sometimes takes it.
It does. For him, you know, the transition was a little bit different. The level of play was a lot different, but he's healthy, smiling, he's bouncing around, so I'm looking forward to seeing his play during camp.
How did he handle the adversity? You know, in high school, everything went so well. How did he handle the adversity that he faced along his path?
Well, for any young kid, it's different, you know, and sometimes you have to walk them through. And the fact that I've been in a similar situation as he has in my career, so it's easy to relate to. And you know, it's been difficult, but it's a growing process, and I think he's come out on the other side, and he's a better man out there.
Do you feel like you have 3 starters at quarterback just going into the season right off the bat?
Yes, and that's a good thing. A lot of those guys have proven themselves, quality time and experience, so I feel very comfortable throwing any one of those combinations out there to play.
So what do Avieon and Ashton have to do to kind of take that next step?
To continue to develop, work, you know, progress as a leader, you know, become more vocal. I think that's going to be a big task for them this year. And just, you know, let their play, you know, speak for itself.
What does Avieon need to do to put himself right there with some of the best that have ever played the position this year? I mean, he's got the ability to do that. Is he trending in that direction, in your opinion?
He is. Consistency. And that's what you want, you know, in this day and age for a young man, is to be consistent. The highs and lows, you know, be, you know, a lot different this year.
Corian, last year at this time you were really excited by him, and then he ran into the injury bug. How's he progressing? You know, what does he need to do to earn some playing time?
For him is to be 100%. You know, the reason why he's here is because he's a tremendous athlete, great young man, fast, and I think, you know, the competition of the group, you know, has kind of brought him along, and I think he'll be a big surprise this year.
How would you kind of describe the intensity and energy of this group, especially since Coach Allen's coming?
Great. I mean, you know, being a DB, you have to have those intangibles of, you know, being aggressive. As I say, we're the kids that play in the sandbox by ourselves. You know, so you got to be one of those kids that can, you know, motivate yourself and compete.
What do you tell the guys when they're looking at the schedule right off the bat? They know they're going to get tested against some of the best wideouts, one of the best quarterbacks in the nation.
One day at a time. I mean, you can't look further. You know, you just got to look at the opponent in front of us, and the opponent right now is training camp. We're getting better in training camp, and then we'll go proceed thereafter.
Have you noticed that in those situations in years past, it helps with focus and attention to detail early on when you know that you want to be playing your best football really quickly?
Well, for us, you know, on the other side of the ball, we have a very, very good offense. So every day is a competition. I mean, nobody wants to get embarrassed and be talked about, you know, from our offensive players, as well as our offensive players don't want to be talked about by our defensive players. So we get challenged every day in practice. So, I mean, it's a good thing to have.
What impresses you about Ashton, Hampton, and just the body size that kind of makes him unique?
I mean, he's different, you know. You don't see too many young men that tall with that type of ability. And when you get one, it's almost like a unicorn. You know, it's like they don't come often, but when you do have one, you know, you cherish it.
What about his freshman season impressed you? Where you think kind of the next step for Ashton?
The fact that he was able to come in and transition so quickly. He was a kid that wasn't a mid-year. He came in June and continually got better and better and better, and then he cracked the lineup and was very consistent, you know, from a mental aspect. A lot of kids that freshman year, they hit the wall, and he was a kid that really didn't hit the wall. He just kept progressing, which was good.
Kind of shifting from this team, how has the house settlement changed the way you have to react?
I don't know, because it hasn't changed. You know, I'm a relationship kind of guy. Some people don't want to play the relationship kind of game, and it kind of, you know, it kind of filters things out for people. You know, for me, I lead with my heart a lot, so it hasn't really affected me.
Are you able to kind of filter those guys out pretty quickly? Are you able to tell pretty quickly what people are after?
Clemson's different anyway, so we recruit differently. So it doesn't really hasn't affected me in the way we've done things.
Is Misun Kelley going to play some DB?
I hope so. You better.
I mean, he's kind of bounced around. How hard is it to try to find his place?
Well, I don't think it's hard. It's just how well he learns the system. Because even though you have the ability to do it, you still got to have the mental capacity to learn the plays and know what you're doing, and he has. He's a very smart young man, talented. God's blessed him with some unbelievable skills.
Jeadyn Lukus kind of lost his starting job late in the season. Ashton Hampton, but he decided to stay with Clemson. What does that kind of say about his mentality? Just even though things didn't go his way, he decided to return back to Clemson for his senior season.
Well, you like it in the day and age where kids are just jumping in the portal and running from competition. He's a young man that understands. He has a good self-awareness, and he understands what he needs to do to get better. And it's been proven. You don't always have to be the starter to play in the NFL. Years previously, we've had a young man, Mark Fields, that played 2 years in the NFL, and he didn't start a game here at Clemson. So, you control your own destiny. And like I said, for him, it was great to see that because it shows a sign of maturity.
With revenue sharing starting on July 1st, has that kind of impacted recruiting? I know Clemson kind of focused more so on like culture relationships, but with money being so heavily talked about nationally, is that kind of something that has been different when recruiting for coaches?
Well, it's like I compare it to the NFL, which is not the NFL. Coaches don't talk about money. I don't talk about money because I don't control money. I control coaching, and developing young men. So I'll leave that to somebody else. I don't want that extra pressure.
Between the coaches, who would you say is the most competitive out of all?
The most competitive? Wow. I can't say who's the most because we all want to win. So we're all competitive. I wouldn't say one's more competitive than the other. We all are. That's the nature of the game. That's the nature of the business.
Do you have a song or something that gets you hyped before training or anything?
Man, for me, it's getting up in the morning and putting my feet on the ground. That's my motivation. Because you're in a day and age now where you're not promised to wake up in the next day. So for me to wake up the next day and be able to do what I do, that's my motivation.
It's a blessing.
Exactly.
A guy like Ashton Hampton entering his second season, what would you like to see him kind of hone in on as he enters his second full season?
I wouldn't say hone in. I would just say, continue to develop holistically. Not just on the football field, but certain things off the field, and becoming a more vocal leader, taking that type of initiative, serving a little bit more. It's a lot, that I require of my guys. So I'll never be satisfied.
With Byron Tom Allen, what's some of the things you're kind of seeing the difference between him and Wes Goodwin so far with your time with the team?
They're two different people. Love both of them. I love Wes. Wes was the first guy I worked with when I got here who taught me the defense, the scheme on the Venables. Tom was a great coach, great motivator. So I love people. So for me, that's all I'm about.
So it feels like every era has its ebbs and flows. But this Clemson era, it seems like I'm more on defense, but with Cade being an upperclassman, this team has a new type of experience to it. Does it feel like this is kind of like year 3 or 4 of a certain run?
I don't know if it's a year of a run. For me, it's going on 13 years, and so it's been consistent. When you have a culture and a program that's built on culture and a firm foundation, you're going to be consistent. And so for me, it's like I said, it's been consistent. I've seen a lot of guys come and go during this program, and it's exciting. It's an exciting time. Just got off vacation, so it's like I'm ready to charge back up the mountain right now.
With Terrell, aspects of his game that can take him from very good to very great. What do you think those could be?
Just to continue work, you know, for perfection. You know, even though there is no such thing as perfection, just the ability to try to go and get it, you know, to be more of a leader. I think he leads by example, but my charge for him was, hey, to be more vocal, you know, to bring the other guys along with you know, because we're only as good as our weakest link.
And you said you go back from vacation. How was vacation? And sometimes it's getting away, but was there a moment of reflection to come back to log in, or how was that?
It was, man. I'm from a small town, in Wilmington, Delaware. So I actually went home and went to one of my childhood parks and just took my shoes off and just had to be grounded. I had to get grounded back again just to realize, like, and think about, okay, where I've come from, and where I'm at. So it was a great moment for me. Had some people come up and ask, hey, were you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm just reflecting, man. This is, one of the times in life you just want to slow down, because life sometimes seems like it's always going. And for that half an hour, it was just a great opportunity for me to sit there and reflect on life.
Your relationship with Coach Allen now in ADC, just how's that been?
It's been great. I love the fact that every day there's an objective, there's a charge. I have a teacher's background, so one of the first things they always tell you about as a teacher is you've got to have an objective for the day. And so we come together and we have a staff devotion, defense devotion, and he challenges the staff every day with something new. And I love it. Like I said, for me, I'm like an unending book. So I'm always writing that novel. And so this is one of those chapters that I'm like, man, this is awesome.
Week 1, August 30th is a while away, but it also feels like it's probably going to come tomorrow. What is the degree of urgency to be perfect's not attainable,
right? But
to be just as sharp as possible, obviously. Tiger, Death Valley. Is there chirping already going on, you think, between the communities of both Tiger Nations? I'm sure there is. It's football. It's athletics. Somebody's always going to chirp. It's just the nature of the game. I'm at that age where I ain't got time for that. I got to worry about what's in my closet. I got to make sure I take care of my young men here and make sure that this team is well prepared and ready to go. And that's an everyday task when you're going against Garrett Riley's offense.
Coach, when you say you don't worry about things like that, we were at SEC Media Days yesterday. You probably saw the clip of Brian Kelly saying that they have the Death Valley. But when you hear something like that, is that something you relay to the players or talk about, or how do you treat that?
I don't know. It's the day and age of social media. So I'm sure somebody has cut that clip and is playing it. I ain't got time for it. I don't. It's like you can't go this way and be deterred over here. So I've got to go this way. That's the way I'm going. So,
is there a part of the field, your position group, you'd really like for them to hone in on, whether it be between the 20s, red zone, third down, deep ball coverage? Is there something that you're probably specifically attacking to hone in on?
I would say if I'm trying to hone in, it's just being consistent, being fundamentally sound, great tackling team. That's what I'm more concerned on. Being better students of the game, watching film with a more critical eye,
And then with being physical, especially on an island, cornerback is up there with the most difficult positions to play, in my opinion. But what's the balance of physicality and finesse?
Well, you can't be too violent, because if you're too violent, that means you should be back there playing safety. So there's a level, and they know it. Right by now they know it, and it's the good ones, they have it and they can understand it.
And then maybe mentality-wise, from your position group, and maybe even off the field, what's something that you would like the team to know about the mentality of your cornerbacks?
Well, the fact that they can trust them. I want my guys to be trustworthy. I want my guys, people on our team to say, you know what, I trust the guy over there. I trust that guy out there to get his job done. And that's the mentality I want my guys to have, and in life, you know, I want people to be able to trust them. You know, it goes for a career. And your bosses want to make sure, hey, I trust that employer right there to do his job. You know, and that's one of the great aspects of football. You know, it's a great teacher of life. And that's why, you know, as coaches, as society, we've got to protect this game, because it's one of the last sports that actually teaches a lot about life. You know, everybody sees the other things that are happening in the game, but can't forget that, hey, it's teaching you teamwork, it's teaching you accountability, you know, time management, things of that nature that you probably wouldn't get sitting in the classroom.
And then special teams. How do you see the special teams group? Obviously, you want that to be as explosive as the other two phases. Just give me anything on how you interpret special teams being this year.
Well, special teams is a big component of the game. It's a third. If you go back and you look at it statistically, it's a third of the game. I mean, you can change the game with one play on special teams, you know, and you know. So for us, we've got to be a group. We've got to identify our core players, and we've got to make sure that, hey, they're ready to go. You know, we got, you know, you figure the first play of offense, first play of defense is a special teams play. And so it's very important that we hone in and become very elite in that aspect.
Do you think Ashton Hampton is going to be a very versatile piece, or do you think you're going to kind of zero in on a particular position?
You usually ask me, well, that's a twofold. Selfishly, I like to keep him over here on me. But you know, but understandingly, you know, it takes a team, not one person. You know, so wherever he's best fit, you know, we can utilize him. We're going to use him. You know, and so that's how we'll take it from there.
AJ, was that there when AJ was there too? Did you kind of know that was a thing?
So no, it was Avieon had to be about 9 years old when we were recruiting AJ. And so literally they had a weight room in their living. So they didn't have it was like their formal dining room, and it didn't have any tables in it. It had a weight bench. Yeah. And so Coach Sweeney's sitting over there, and he's like, I bet you I can do this. So AJ challenges him. So Coach Sweeney's down there bench pressing with a dress shirt on. And then they're like, Coach, you can't do it. So now I'm in there bench pressing, and I'm like, what is this? So I think up until maybe a couple years ago, you know, they always had a weight room in their living room.
So when you were recruiting Avieon, came back, it was still there?
No, it actually moved into another room.
What does that say about his family? I mean, in terms of like they showed other clips in terms of like running up that hill.
Yeah.
And also, like how much was he shaped, do you think, by his parents in terms of being
a lot. I mean, but you know, when you see mom and dad, and not to mention his sisters, like people fail to realize his sisters were very athletic. Like his older sister, she does YouTube videos of workouts. Like she's literally like working out, and so they're a very competitive, you know, workout family. Like look at Pop. Pop is like fit. You know, he eats right, he works out, you know, so it's like one of those things that, you know, as a young kid growing up, when you see your parents model something, you end up doing it too. And so, you know, they started doing it, and then, you know, he basically told them, like, hey, if you want to be this type of athlete, then you got to do this. So they're out there working out with him. You know, so it was something that was a learned trait.
I think another thing you said was something about like fight field.
Yeah.
So was Avieon like a little kid playing?
Avieon, so AJ was already enrolled in school, and Avieon was like I said, he was a little tot. He was out there doing camp at Fight Field, you know. So it's like, you know, I've actually, you know, seen him grow, you know. So it's a great, you know, it's one of those things. It's a great story, you know.
Where can he actually get better? I mean, obviously he's been so good these first 2 years.
Well, continue. Well, he's good, but now it's time. You know, you want to stretch it. I want to be great, and I want that. You know, I don't want to rest on what I've done last year, because last year's plays are not going to bring this year's success. So for him, it's like any of us, is now it's time to charge back up the mountain. It's time to get even in better shape, to get stronger, to watch film even more with a critical eye, to be more a vocal leader, not just a leader by example. So those type of things.
Jeadyn Lukas, where's he at right now? Just like all the injuries he's had over the years.
Right now he's in a great space. He's the J. Lou a year ago is a totally different J. Lou than he is now. Mature, he had that smile. He's bouncing around. He's eager to go out and play. He understands that this is his last hurrah, so to speak, at Clemson. So he wants to go out and with a shebang.
You say it's totally different from even last year. Kind of where was he at last year in terms of it's still kind of hard to deal with?
Well, no, he's he had a nagging injury, and to his credit, he toughed it out. Where a lot of young men would have probably shut it down and transferred or did whatever. He's toughed it out. He's a tough kid, great family. And he loves Clemson. So, and I'm pleased and excited. I want it for him.
What did Corian Gipson get out last year? Obviously, he had a little bit of a slow.
Came in, from an ACL injury and out of high school, and so that's for some young men that type of injury early in their career it's not just from a physical aspect, but it also deals with your mental, because really, you can't run, you can't cut. You have some foreign bodies that are now in your body, and so you got to get back to, walking, running, cutting. So it's a delicate injury, and he's back, so I'm looking forward to seeing him in camp.
Ashton, what are the areas of improvement you had for him?
Same with all of us. Got to get stronger, watch film, get faster. All those type of things, become a leader, do some things other than what's required on the football field. That as far as the development of a man that we do here, those type of things.
A Hampton or a Terrell, you've had a lot of those guys in recent years that kind of start playing when they're younger. After Hampton's freshman year, like last year, full of highlights, and people are talking about him this year, how hard do you have to coach him to kind of make him remember that, don't forget that you're the guy that everybody didn't really talk about in high school?
Well,
don't remember that last year.
And the thing about that is that we've always preached that last year's plays won't make this year's success. So Coach Sweeney does a hell of a job of doing that and making sure that these young men understand, hey, last year was last year. This year is a new year. Let's do this even more.
And then Avieon, just if you were an NFL scout, him and his brother, who would you say, what are the strengths of Avieon that maybe AJ doesn't have, and then maybe the other way around? What does AJ have that maybe Avieon doesn't have yet in his game?
AJ was like the silent assassin, whereas Avieon may tell you that he's going to assassinate you. So those two, it's just different, man. And it's good to see, the difference in those guys. And so I never try to compare each other together because they're two different people. AJ's 6'1.5", 6'2". Avion's 5'11". I'm giving him some height there. So it's
Jeadyn Lukus got a little banged up at the end of the spring. How's he doing in his comeback?
He'll be ready for camp.
And you're still expecting him to play nickel this year?
He's going to play everything. The thing with him is he's like a Swiss Army knife. He can do it all. And so when you have a young man like that who can you put in various positions and make plays, it makes him a better team.